get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Weisz.
Dr. Jeremy Weisz here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Michele Ringelberg of ThrivePOP. Michele, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of our Cannabis series, but also our top agency series, a couple good ones are I had Mitch Kahn of Grassroots. He built the company up, sold to Curaleaf, I think for over $800 million, and shared it wasn't always peachy, Michele. It was actually tough times, as you know, with getting licenses. And this was early on in the space. There was a lot of legal stuff that needed to be worked out. And he really took a bet, and their company took a bet on this space early on. Also, Stormy Simon was past president of Overstock, who got into the cannabis space. Wanda James was an interesting one. She's founder and CEO of Simply Pure Dispensary, along with her husband, and they actually became the first African Americans legally licensed in America. So that was a very interesting story. On the agency side, Jason Swank, who we both know, Jason had two interviews with them. One, how he built his agency up to over 8 figures and sold it, and then the second, how he had been buying up agencies and what he was looking for. So it was interesting, the valuation space. Another good one, in the agency one, is Adee Clevitt. Adee Clevitt, Michele, is really interesting. She's a done-for-you company to help with SOPs. So that's all she does. So she helps, smooth out onboarding of teams, staff, clients, whatever it is, and helps actually create SOPs for the company so that it functions smoother. We geeked out on our favorite productivity softwares and resources. So that was a fun one as well to check out. And this episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. And how do we do that? We do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So, Michele, we're kind of like the magic elves that run in the background to make it look easy for the company and the host so they can run their company and develop amazing relationships. And so, for me, that's the number one thing in my life. I'm always looking at ways to, create amazing relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com to learn more. I'm really excited to introduce Michele Ringelberg. She's the founder and CEO of ThrivePOP. ThrivePOP is a digital marketing agency located in Michigan. They have over 20 years of marketing experience. She's responsible for the business operations, sales, marketing, and they specifically specialize in the cannabis industry. It wasn't always that way, so we'll talk a little bit about the evolution and journey, but she does have a talent for getting her team and clients inspired by marketing. And Michele, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
As we talk, there's going to be a video piece to this. So I'm going to share ThrivePOP and the website. You'll see, amazing at design from the website. So Michele, talk about ThrivePOP and what you do.
All right. Well, we are a digital marketing agency, and we started in 2017, and we actually spinned out of an IT managed service company. So my husband owned Next IT, which is an IT managed service company, and I was managing the web and the marketing team. And he was looking at possibly selling, and I missed doing marketing for multiple companies. So we decided to spin out and create ThrivePOP. And my daughter is also a partner, and she works right alongside me. So that's exciting. And like Jeremy was saying, like when we started, we were just a traditional marketing. We did not have a niche. And I was working with a consultant. I became like certified woman-owned business, and ended up getting a grant for like a marketing consultant to help me make sure that we're doing everything the right way. And they just kept on me about like, you have to niche down. And we had this client that came to us, which was just a hosting client, and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this email campaign and it's for the cannabis industry. Can you like help us? So that's how we first started working it. So it was not a strategic plan by any means. It just kind of happened. And I think that's what happens a lot with marketing agencies. And I'm sure Jason Swink would agree because he talks to a lot of people, and typically this is what happens. People kind of fall into it, or they start a new job and I didn't like it, so I tried to do it on my own. And basically, like, we ended up going to this trade show, tried to learn about cannabis, and it was there that we realized, wow, like, this is a tough industry. And if we do a good job and we learn all the ins and outs, there was not very many marketing agencies that specialize in cannabis at the time. So we were one of the first that started going down that road. And now, like, that's all we do. Well, we do some other traditional, like, businesses, but the majority of everything that we do are really specializing in cannabis. And it's hard. It's not easy, for sure.
And we'll talk about, what's interesting about it is that obviously our restrictions on this industry, and maybe it doesn't give companies the flexibility, the complete flexibility. So, maybe they just avoid it because you do have to know certain things. You can't just jump into it. But I like what you said there about the niche. It wasn't this like master plan, but oftentimes when I'm talking to people, Michele, it's the clients, they don't even realize they have a niche sometimes because it's the clients that love them, get the best, and who they get the best results for, right? And you luckily hit that from the beginning and with that. But I'd like to hear about the evolution. So we talk about niche and how important that is. There's niche of the industry. There's also niche of the services. What would the evolution of your services, what they look like? Because it sounds like with this particular client, they wanted to start with email marketing.
Right. Yeah. And when we first started, we were pretty much, well, we were 100% online business application. So very like high end websites, basically, Magento, Laravel, things like that. And I ended up getting frustrated because my passion is marketing, right? And I couldn't like get my hands in it because I'm not a developer, and really like got burned by some developers and had to go to a client and tell them that, my team can't do this, so I need to give your money back because I don't feel confident that we can do what it is that you want. And many consultants will tell you, do what you love. And it was hard the first year. And I remember crying a lot, losing a lot of money.
Over
And
what? Just about the tough
the
parts about.
stress of it, or like, can I make payroll? And, you know, just figuring out all the processes and software that you use. And it's just like really hard. And we were just like burning money. I mean, I was losing at least $5,000 a month, which was difficult, and so I remember like meeting with the CPA, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing here? Do you tell me about this? And he's like, why do you want to do this? And I'm like, oh, well, because I just love helping companies and da 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 da. But I don't like the web piece, I'm not like, I mean, I'm pretty technical, but I'm not like a coder technical. And what I love is just like getting clients excited. And he's like, then why aren't you focusing on marketing? And I'm like, I don't know. And so he's like, well, do what you love, because then you're going to naturally get people excited, because you totally just got me excited. I'm ready to sign with you right now because of all the things you just told me. I'm like, really? But I'm not outgoing. I'm more of an introvert. And this whole, like, trying to get the meetings was like a challenge. It is a challenge, as anyone knows. So we hired a telemarketing company to get us leads. And then I was fine, doing the meetings and getting people excited. Like, there's got to be other ways. Like, what can we do? Let's try this, let's try that. So then it just started growing because I really was doing what I loved. And so we eventually just started weaning out like those clients that were the online application systems and the Magento clients and so forth, and just focused on like WordPress sites that I could go in and check on the developers to make sure things are getting done, because typically what they would always say, oh, it's behind, you can't see what's happening. You don't trust us. We're making progress. You just can't see what we've been doing yet, which was a standard response that I would get. So just went down that road, and it just like naturally we just started getting clients, and it kind of grew from there. So
It's really interesting because it sounds like, the Magento sites can be super complicated and complex. You're like, okay, let's get rid of, even if you are decent at it, let's get rid of the things that takes long, that we don't like doing. And instead of just saying, yeah, we'll try and do that with our developers or find someone, you were like, oh, let's focus on the marketing part. Like, you like doing probably the print design stuff, the social media stuff, the email marketing stuff. And if it's a website, if they have a specific type of site, it's like you won't work with certain websites. But if it's like a WordPress where it's just easier and less complex than like a Magento site, where I've heard if you tweak one thing and it's all over, then you just really need someone who specializes in that. So I could see that. And that kind of helped turn it around, along with just a specific plan for getting in front of clients, which was the telemarketing side, which is interesting. What made you think of going that avenue with telemarketing?
it was our CPA that said, I think you should do this. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. I'm in marketing, but when you're doing your own, it's like you have blinders on or something. You just can't see, it's like so easy to do it for clients. But then when you think about your own stuff, it's like, well, I don't know what to do now. So, no, he was just like,
So
just
does a
spend a couple
telemarketing
months.
company like develop a list for you of different cannabis companies and then reach out?
Well, we had a list, and so basically we would just give them the list and, give them a script, and this is what you can say, and here's, a nice call to action to try to get the
Yeah.
meeting. And then they just schedule it with me or Brittany. And so we're just consulting.
Yeah.
I'm not like a pushy salesperson at all. Like, typically our process is we'll do a discovery meeting where we're just learning about the business, and then I will then come back and okay, like, I hear what you said. I'm going to do some research and come up with some recommendations. And then we meet with the client and present, like, here's what is going on, like, with your website and your marketing. And here were your pain points. Here were the problems that you were frustrated with. So let's solve those. And here's the solution. And, that is what like has been working. And I get excited because I like doing the marketing research and like digging in and finding out, like, okay, who are your competitors, and like, what is it that you like, or like or don't like about them, and what what do you think your weakness is? And then I dig into it, and then present to them. And, usually because, like I was saying earlier, like when you're in the middle of it, you just can't think straight, right? And then you have an outsider come in and like, well, have you thought about doing this? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And so I just like getting people excited about, there is hope. You can like generate more revenue. And when we're comparing like websites versus marketing, when you have this story of we're going to help you make more money, it's a lot easier to sell than we're going to cost you this much money for a website. And so when you can prove the ROI, that's what is like super helpful. And
I'm curious, Michelle, I'm fascinated by this telemarketing thing for some reason, but like, because I feel like I'm like you, where I'm just very consultative, try and be helpful. And, when I picture telemarketing, I almost picture the opposite, right? So I'm curious, that mix of your personality of like, listen, we don't want to be pushy, we just want to help, with a telemarketing. What was in the script that you were comfortable with, and like, what was the call to action, if you
um,
remember?
yeah, typically and it's been a while, so I'm trying to remember. But usually it's, hey, the telemarketer was like, hey, like Michelle's the owner. She wants to share some like free tips to help you, get better SEO or like do more marketing or
There's like a
um
value
yeah.
proposition there.
And typically what I would do is say, hey, I noticed, this is your meta description is this, like, if you can just put your keyword like in that meta description, that's going to help you a ton. And I would always like provide 3 free tips for prospects. And even if I wasn't doing the telemarketing and I found somebody that I really wanted to work with, I would just email them and say, hey, I'm Michelle, like we, do marketing for, businesses like yours. I noticed this and here's just a free tip. Like, here's how you do this. So can you, you know, go ahead and do it? And if it works, great. If you're struggling, let me know. And it's just, the more that you can help, you're not selling. You're providing that value. And it's just like really helpful.
Another thing, thanks for sharing that, Michelle. I love that approach, because just try and be helpful to people. And if they're ready for you, then they're ready for you. You don't really have to be pushy or in their face. It's just they know you're helpful, and you'll be there. Another thing that worked for you was trade shows.
Mhm.
What are some of your favorite trade shows?
Um, like with that client I was talking about that just wanted the email campaign, um, they had like encouraged us go to the biggest trade show in the cannabis industry, which is MJ BizCon. And so I sent Brittany and I said, go check it out, see, like, talk to people, find out what are they doing for marketing, what are their struggles. And she came back with all these meetings just from the trade show and like, oh my gosh, people don't know and they're so excited. Like when I show them HubSpot or when I demo like what we did for this client. And so that's like the big one. So the first year she just went. The second year, I think we just did it virtually um and then we started attending like exhibiting. And I was stressed to the max about that because I mean, it's a big trade show, so you're paying big bucks to be there. And we just had a little 10 by 10 booth. I'm like, oh, okay, you guys, like we have to get like a client from this. And we had all kinds, like we had these really cute shirts that we were giving away that had like sayings on it. And so we had people just lined up like waiting to talk to us because we had like bright, fun colors, and almost everybody at this trade show is black or green. And we had like hot pink and blue. And so people
You
would just
stuck
come up
out.
like, oh my God, like we just had to come over here because you look fun. And I'm like, that's right, we are fun. So
Where is it
that's
usually?
one. It's usually in Las Vegas. And so we've been going every year since. And this year we're doing, oh, last year we did a 10 by 20. This year we're doing a 20 by 20. So upping the game a little bit for
What
this
have
year.
you done that's worked? I'm going to also I'm going to share my screen because if you go to thrivepop.com, which you saw before, there is a resources page that they have on the site, and they have some really awesome informational ebooks here, which you can see. But I wanted to, you have one on what to include in a trade show plan and
Yeah.
strategy. So what are some of the things that you think about? Because I'm sure your clients are also going to these trade shows for various reasons.
Mhm.
Um, what is in here? A few tips for people, cannabis companies going to trade shows.
Yeah, I think people get so wrapped up in like the booth that they forget about the before and after, right? And so one of the things I always recommend is like a email drip campaign prior to the event, letting people know that you're going to be there. Like, we're going to be at this booth. Schedule like a meeting with us. We only have this many slots available, so we're creating that urgency. And then when you're at the booth, like one of my rules is never sit down. Like you have to be standing up and like ready to be talking to people, but you have to have some type of interactivity at the booth to get people over. Because if it's just a table or if it's just kind of a boring thing, people just want to kind of keep walking past, right? But if you have something interesting, they're like, what is that? Like, how do you do that? Like, how can I get that? You know? And so just having like really cool things. And there was another company there that was selling shirts with sayings on it, but we were giving them out for free, you know, and ours was much more clever anyways. And so that's why we had like that line that was going around. And so that is like really important, and just making sure your team is like not chit-chatting, not on the phone. They're alert, they're like ready to talk to people, and that they don't take people that are not super educated. Like make sure like you're taking your best people like to work the trade show. And then post is the follow-up, right? You know, and making sure that you have some process of following up. And so what we typically do is we will hire a telemarketing company to call for follow-ups, like, hey, Michelle talked to you and when you talked to her about this, she wants to meet with you, and get those appointments. And you know what is like frustrating at these trade shows is that people are like, oh my God, like I need you, like we're gonna hire you for sure. Like I love, you know, everything you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then trying to get them on the phone is like, but they were really excited. I got
People
them.
get back to their busy lives, I guess, and
Yes, I know. And so when you come back, it's like you're like trying to like just get caught up, that I was getting frustrated with my team on, come on, you guys, we have to call all these people. And it just wasn't happening. So I'm like, I just made sure that it does happen. So yeah, so like making sure you're following up, and then also like get them into a drip campaign, and so what we do is like we get them into like a sequence and then they go into a drip campaign. So they're always getting something from us, like on a weekly basis or monthly basis, depending. And so that we're staying top of mind, so that when they are ready, they're thinking, oh, who's that company that emails us all those cool ebooks? Oh yeah, that's ThrivePOP. Oh, I know ThrivePOP. And then, as like time has went on, like when we go to the shop, I know you. You send me emails. And so it's also kind of that, conversation starter too. But that's like the big things that we really try to encourage. And, the
Yeah, you have
more,
these set systems for everything. And so it sounds like, Michelle, you'll help companies also execute on their trade show strategy. So like if a company goes to a trade show, you'll kind of help with the emails or follow up for a company at a trade show too?
yeah. Yes, yeah. So typically, like we like start with the strategy, and then we will then make sure like we schedule or we like figure out goals for the company, whatever that may be. So say if it's this, we consider like a trade show a campaign, and basically what's the goals for this campaign. Okay, here's what we're going to do if these are the goals, and that's how we determine like what we're going to do. But we do everything. So we have designed the booths and then work with the vendors. We will order all of the equipment and supplies, and our we'll even stage the environment for you. Like if you need us to do that, like have all of the print materials ready, or if we need to order promo items, like all of that. But then of course all of the other things that go along with that, like the pre-show, and then staying on the sales team after, and making sure like, okay, like make sure you're putting the notes in, so that we know what's happening. Or, hey, like we had all these leads. Now what's happening? Like, did any of them close? And was that trade show worth it? Because some people spend $100,000, $200,000 on going to this trade show. Like,
They don't follow up.
what is the ROI on that? Like, how many clients did you close? Because the owner spent all this money getting you there. So, you need to be making sure that you didn't just waste your time and just were chit-chatting to people. And that's super, super important. And the business owners want to know that they're not just wasting that money, that we do have a plan in place for the events, because they're expensive when you consider the travel and the hotel and the food and
It adds up very quickly. I want to talk a little about, the types of clients you work with, and maybe we'll talk about a few examples to highlight. I know one of the companies is PIP Horticulture. Can you talk a little bit about them and what you did with them?
Yeah. So PIP was the email campaign that they were a hosting client, came to us, and now they're like one of our largest clients, and we do everything for them. But yeah, like they had a creative director, and she had like a team, and she was on maternity leave, and so they knew that she needed help, and that's why they called us. Like, we just need to get an email campaign out, and she's not back from maternity leave yet. And so we're like, yeah, we can help. And then realized there was a lot of issues with some of their websites. We're like, oh my gosh, like we need to do this and this and this. And so it just like has evolved. And now we basically their sales team depends on us.
What do they do as a company?
They are grow racks for the cannabis industry. So they are marketing to other businesses or like grow facilities. And so they can like grow more and like increase yields, which is what's really important for a grower. And their racks, they started out in the retail. So they are in like say Target or Walmart, and they had like the shelves that, you move, and adjust. And so that when people like you're in the back room and you're putting clothing on the shelves, that type of shelving. And then um they just decided to get into the horticulture space, and it's been like really great for them. And they Hip Mobile is the parent company. They have multiple companies, but this is the focus is on the horticulture for the cannabis.
Very interesting. Yeah, I remember I had someone, Michelle reminds me, so I imagine not just cannabis, but you help people kind of in, I don't know, farming or that industry. Because I remember I interviewed a guy, he started Tiny But Mighty Foods, which was like a popcorn, like a tiny popcorn. I forgot what it was called. Something like, I don't know if it was heirloom popcorn or something, but that's what he was. He was like a farmer who was able to get more yield out of the corn as a consultant. Then he just decided to start his own company producing these popcorn kernels because he could get whatever it was, like 30% more yield, which is a huge amount considering the acres of crops these people have. So that's really interesting. Potter's Cannabis
Yeah.
Boutique.
So Potter's came to me, and they hadn't opened yet. And so they have a grow facility and a dispensary. And he shared with me his story, which I thought was like really cool. And basically, Corey is the owner, and his son um died in a motorcycle accident, but
Oh,
him and his son had this dream to have a grow facility and dispensary. And so when he came to us, he's like, yeah, like I need, help with like the branding and everything. I'm getting ready to open, but I want like my son's picture on this logo. And I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be, how are we gonna do a logo? Because you don't want it to be too busy, but then he wanted all the words, and as designers we're like, too much. And so I'm like, I can't picture like how this is going to be. But my senior designer's like, I already have an idea. I already got it. And so she came up with this really cool logo for them. And so we did like all of the branding for them and just help them like with everything. Like he wanted us to come and like check out the showroom and where should we place like the merchandise. And like one of my strategists used to be like a regional director at Old Navy. So she's like, you got to put this here because of this. And, so it was kind of like fun to like do that, but then roll out like everything, like the packaging, because he is a grow facility, he's packaging his own product. So we were able to like do that for him and really kind of like push him and like show him the importance of marketing, because sometimes with the dispensaries, they just want to get it out there and they're rushing, we're like, no, we got to do this the right way. I know like it's taking a while, but this is how we have to do it. And it's just like educating them, and they're doing really good right now. And they've been in business like a couple of years. And I think it's really cool that they just are, you know, that his son is so like entwined in it, even though like he's not there anymore. And his son was a photographer. And so like the picture of him is like he's like taking a picture with the face. And basically they had pictures like in the dispensary of his son's photography. And it just like it's just a great like company. He's like very sincere, and they have a really great story. So I thought I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I love it. And if you're looking at the screen on the video, you could see here's the logo, and it's someone and his son with taking a photograph of that. So
Yep.
it's really it's cool. It's clean. You guys did a great job of getting everything in there that needed to be in there. I'd like to just ask about, quickly, Michele, you had something that stuck out to me in the ebook, which is the do's and don'ts. And I'd love to hear maybe one of the don'ts or whatever you feel, because I know you have to kind of tread lightly sometimes in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the more authentic that you can be, the better. And when you're trying to pretend to be a certain way because you think that's what your audience wants, it doesn't work. You have to be very authentic in everything that you're doing and honest. And like whether it's on social or, in your communication, be real. And because you are working with people, because there's a person on the other side of the computer that's reading your story and you need to be able to connect with them. And that's so important. And people forget that. They just think about, I'm just trying to sell, sell, sell. Well, that will come. But you have to also be natural, and when we first started, we had a bunch of lawyers and they were very, uptight and stiff and I'm just like, I can't, that's not how I am. So how am I going to do these lawyers, because we're just not on the same page. And so I started thinking okay, I was trying to please everybody and it wasn't working because I was trying to be a way that I'm not. I was trying to be stern and highly, intense, and that's just not me. And I'm not good at sugarcoating. I just say it like it is. And I just want to make sure that when clients are working with me, if something's not going well, I'm going to be straight and I'm going to tell you this campaign is not doing well because of this. We made a mistake or we didn't get this artwork in time or whatever it may be, because the one of my biggest pet peeves is just people that lie or are just not truthful or try to spin things. And I'm not that way. Like I was saying earlier, I'm not like a pushy salesperson. It's here's how we charge, and there's no tricks to it. This is just how it is, and this is how we are. And one of our core values is transparency, because I just I want to be honest, and because it's going to help me in the end, because there's so many companies out there that they come to me and they're like, yeah, I was having this person do, but then they didn't do any of the work that they said. And I'm just like, what? Because we are so detailed on document every single thing we do and tracking every time that we're working on your stuff. So what exactly we're doing. So yeah. I forgot what the question was, but
It was just you were talking about the do's and don'ts, and one of the big don'ts was not being authentic, right? And so you tell your clients that, but you also practice that because that's also one of maybe what ended up subconsciously or consciously attracted you to this industry, because your personality maybe lends itself more to the owners of these type of businesses than comparing to law firms, which, my business partner, John, is a recovering lawyer. So I tell him he's stiff all the time. But I have one last question, Michele. I know we're a couple minutes over. I don't know if you have time for it. If not, that's fine. if you have to go. But my last question is, partnerships. I know partnerships are important to you. I'd love for you to talk about some of your most important partnerships, and you have this also on your, and it could be these companies who are on your page or not, but who are some of your important partners?
Yeah. So I think for cannabis, like I'm on the marketing committee for the National Cannabis Industry Association. And when we first started going down the cannabis road, I knew we didn't know a lot. And so I joined so that I could learn. And so that was really helpful because you're meeting with other people that have been doing marketing in this industry and just learning so much. And so that's like a big one. And I'm still like on their marketing committee. The Michigan Cannabis Association, BIPOCAN is another partner. And so they like focus on equity and inclusion and those types of things. And so the bottom list of logos are different platforms that we use like in the cannabis industry to do different things. Like there's a email and text platform like Springbig and Alpine IQ. And then a lot of the dispensaries are on Weed Maps or Leafly, and it can get confusing. So we manage that for our clients. And
What does like Weed Maps and Leafly do?
so basically it's a platform and they have an app, but businesses will like put their company on there so that people can find the dispensary. So it's
Got
kind of like a Google Maps to the extreme, but it's specifically for dispensaries
Oh yeah,
or
that's cool.
related products.
I see that.
And yeah, and so you can search an area and then you'll see like where all the dispensaries are near you type of thing.
Oh, cool.
You can like buy online, you can like have it shipped to you sometimes. Just depends. But yeah, so like we'll do like weekly deals for clients and you can do like emails out of there, you can advertise on there. A lot of different things. Make sure like your page is optimized for, SEO so that you're telling your story right on there. And also like making sure your website's integrated so that the inventory is correct to make sure that, hey, I just bought this on here, but I got to the store and they said they didn't have any. What's up? Where we want to make sure that, it's syncing properly and what they have on Leafly and Weed Maps is what they have in the store.
It's a
Or-
lot of moving pieces here, Michele. First of all, I just want to thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey, your lessons, and the ups and downs in the journey. I want to encourage anyone to check out thrivepop.com. If you know someone in the cannabis space, send them to thrivepop.com. They have some amazing resources there, and check out more episodes of the podcast. And I just want to thank you, Michele, and we'll see everyone next time. Thanks, Michele.
Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.